Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how to make a goddess gown with a Basque waistline. For this gown, I'm going to be making use of these materials you can see here. This one is 1 yard, while this one is about 3 yards. If this is something you love to learn how to make, keep watching to the end of this video. Also, do not leave a like if you find this video very helpful. Tell me what you think about this tutorial, and if you be trying this style out in the comment section. Do also subscribe to this channel so you get notified whenever I upload new amazing tutorials like this one. And let's get started. I'm going to start with cutting the upper part of the gown before I cut the lower part of the gown. So first of all, you just want to fold your material into two like this. Just make sure you're folding the right side so you can mark on the back. The first thing I'm doing is to mark out a straight line. This straight line is going to be my starting line, and it's also going to be my shoulder line. After I mark out my shoulder line, I'm going to go ahead and mark out my shoulder measurement divided by 2 on this line. My shoulder measurement divided by 2 is 8 inches. So I'm going to leave a mark of 8 inches on this line. From this line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, just like this. Now, after I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and connect it upward like this. To connect it upward, I'm going to take my neckline measurement. So my neckline measurement is 3 inches. I'll mark out 3 inches just like this, and I'm going to connect upward like this. Once I've done this, the next thing I'm going to do will be to add an extra 1.5 inches to this shoulder. So this 1.5 inches that I'm adding is because of the sewing allowance that I'm going to be using to turn the armhole, and aside that, it's because I want the shoulder to be a bit wide. Okay, so it looks like it has a sleeve, but then it doesn't have a sleeve. So I'm going ahead to add an extra 1.5 inch to this shoulder here like this. Then I'm just going to extend it like this. After I've done that, I'm going to mark out my armhole line. So for my armhole line, it's my round armhole measurement divided by 2, or your bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. My bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches gives me 7.6. So I'm leaving a mark at 7.6 inches, just like this. Now that's for my armhole line. The next line I'm marking out is my bust line. I'm marking out my bust line at 11 inches. After I mark out my bust line, I'm going to mark out my waistline. I'm marking out my waistline for this at 16.5 inches. After my waistline, I am just going to extend these lines before marking out the rest. So after marking out these lines, I'm going to mark out my bust measurement divided by 4 on my chest line. My bust measurement divided by 4 gives me 9.25. I'm marking 9.25 on this line. And then I'm going to just add an extra allowance of 1/2 inch. I'm adding an extra allowance of 1/2 inch because this material is stretchy. So I don't want my allowance to be too much. I just want it to fit perfectly. If I decide not to add an allowance to this because it's stretchy, it's still going to be okay. But I'm just adding an allowance just to be on the safe side. So if your material is not so stretchy, please add sufficient allowance for your clothes. So I'm going to go to my waistline now, which is this one. And I'm going to be dividing my waist measurement by 4. My waist measurement by 4 gives me 7.75. I'm going to go ahead and mark that on my waistline. And then I'm just adding an extra allowance of 1/2 inch again. So from this point, I'm going to go ahead and connect upward like this. So after I've connected upward now, I'm going to connect this line here to meet this one, just like this. So now this is what I have for my armhole. Please don't get confused. I know it's not like the usual armhole that you see that's very curved inside, but this is the pattern for the dress. Next thing I'm going to do will be to mark out my hip line. So for my hip line, I'm going to take my shoulder to my hip measurements. My shoulder to my hip measurements is about 24 inches. I'm going to leave a mark at 24 inches and I'll just extend this line like this. For my hip line, because I'm not going to be exactly using it, just so you guys don't get confused, I'm going to use another color of chalk to mark it out. This is because I'm not going to be using this line. This line is just a reference. So I'm going to mark out the style of the back now of this gown. So from this line, I'm going to come up by 2.5 inches like this. And from this line, I'm going to come down by 2 inches like this. Now that I've come up and down by 2 inches, I'm now going to mark my hip measurement divided by 4. My hip measurement divided by 4 gives me 10.25. I'm going to mark that on my hip line like this. I'll add an extra allowance of 1/2 inch. Once I do that, I'm going to complete this pattern just like this. So now that I've cut this out, I'm going to go ahead and fold my fabric again into 2 so I can cut out my back pattern. So once I folded my material into 2 again, I'm going to be placing my front pattern on top of my back pattern. With my back pattern, it's going to have an allowance for the zipper. So my allowance for the zipper would just be 1 inch. So I'm going to be marking down 1 inch just like this. My front piece directly on this 1 inch line, just like this. So once I've placed it like this, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. Now that I have this, I'm going to divide the back into 2 so I can have my zipper allowance open. For the neckline of this gown, I'm going to be going now by 3.5 inches at this point, and then I'm going to be coming down by 3 inches. So just depending on the kind of neckline you want, how deep or how wide you want it to be, you can just pick your measurements from there. I'm just going to connect it this way, like you can see me doing like this. And once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So for my back neckline, I'm just going to be using 1 inch, and 1 inch is just about here, like this. So I'm just going to be using 1 inch. So now that I have this, I'm going to leave a notch at where I have my zipper allowance starting from, so I do not forget. So after this, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the back's effect for this. I pinned this down earlier, so I'm taking off the pins. Now that I've taken off the pins, I'm just going to pin along the zipper line because I've opened the zipper into 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin along the zipper right here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and open this up like this. I'll be opening up the front piece too, like this, and I'll be placing it directly on top of each other. Once you hold your 2 materials together like this, you want to make sure of the part that is high and the part that is low, because as this material is placed, this is the front and this is the back. So you don't want to end up cutting one side and your gathers or your backs moving to a direction that you don't want it to. So after I've gone ahead to visualize this, this is the part that is meant to be up, and this is the part that is meant to be down. That's how I want mine to be. So what I'm just going to do is to extend this line that I have here that was above my hip line. So I'm going to extend it all the way to this corner, just like this. Once I extend that to this corner, all I have to do now is to connect this line to meet this one like this. So I'm just going to be doing that with my curve like this. Hey guys, so I'm going to start by working on the front neckline, and what I'm going to do to the front neckline is the same thing I'm going to do to the back neckline. So for this front neckline, I have gone ahead to cut out this piece of material, and this piece of material is 1.5 inches by width. So I'm going to be using this piece of material, and just like a bias, I'm going to be turning the neckline, but I'll be turning it from inside to outside instead of outside to inside. So I'm just going to take this piece of material now, and I'm just going to sew around the neckline just like this to attach it together. So now after I attach this to the neck, I'm just going to go ahead and notch the round neckline like this. After I've done that now, just like a bias, I'm going to fold it and then I'm going to turn it right on top of it just like this. So I'm just going to show you how to do this now on my machine. So guys, this is what my front neckline looks like after I had turned it in with the material as a bias. This is what it looks like at the back. You can see it's very neat. So I'm also going to show you how to do this on your own neckline if you do not want to use a bias. Now this is one side of my back neckline. I've already gone ahead to sew on top of it with this material that I cut out as 1.5 inches. You can see that it's a straight material. So now what I want to do will be to make a notch all around the neckline, because it is a round neckline, so you want it to sit very well. So this is how you make a notch. You just go ahead and cut the neckline just like you can see me doing like this. So after you cut it, you should have it like this. This cutting here helps the neckline to follow the curve that it's meant to follow. So after you've done that now, all you just have to do is to fold this one like you can see me doing. You're going to fold it a bit, and then when you fold it a bit, you're going to just make sure that you place it on top of these ones that are flying around here. And when you place it right on top of these ones, you can easily cover it up, and then you're going to sew very slowly so you can sew directly on top of the line and it looks very neat. You're just going to sew at the border of the line so it looks very neat. So guys, after I was done, this is what I have for my back neckline. You can see what it's looking like, and like I said, I did this also on my front neckline. So now I'm just going to go ahead and join the shoulders. So if you do not add enough allowance for your armhole, you can just use the same method for the neckline to sew on your armhole. But then if you have already added enough allowance for your armhole, you can just go ahead and fold it inside. It's also dependent on the kind of material you're using. Do not use a material that does not look very good to fold in the armhole. Okay, so if you don't have a material that looks very good, use this method on the neck for the armhole. So my material is very thick and it looks very good, so I just folded it inside, and this is what my armhole looks like. So I'm just going to go ahead and join the other shoulder now and also fold in the armhole. So guys, now I've gone ahead to join my shoulder and finished up my neckline. I also did my armhole. So now it's time to fix my zipper. So I'll be fixing my zipper first before closing up my sides. So I'll be fixing my zipper on just 1 inch because that's the amount of allowance I left for my zipper. So this is the zipper that I'm using. So now this is the length of the zipper. Okay, this is the length of the zipper. I'm not going to take the zipper all the way down. So since this is the length of the zipper, it's about 24 inches by length. I'm not going to take it all the way down. I'll stop about 23 inches, which should be somewhere around here. So I'm just going to close up this remaining part of the cloth by 1 inch, and I'll be fixing my zipper on the remaining part of the cloth. If you do not know how to fix a zipper, here's a full tutorial on how to fix a zipper. Just go ahead and check it out. So I'm just going to fix my zipper now on my back piece. Hey guys, so now I'm gonna head to fix my zipper to the back of this dress, and this is what it is looking like. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do now is to close up the sides of the dress. I'll be closing up the two sides of the dress by about 1/2 inch, which is the measurement that I added for the allowance. Okay, so just go ahead and close up yours by the amount of allowance that you took on the sides. Now I'm going ahead to join the sides of the dress, and I've given all of this a good press from the neckline down to the armhole to the base. So I'm going to join my gathers now. For my gathers, to cut it out, you just have to measure the shorter part of this upper piece and minus it from the full length of the gown. So the full length of my gown is 65. So I'm measuring from this shoulder now to this shorter part of my gown, and I have about 21 inches here. Okay, since I have about 21 inches here, I'm just going to minus 21 inches from the full length of my gown, which is 65. So I just rounded it off to 45. So I cut out the length of the other piece of fabric as 45. So after I cut out this piece of fabric, I cut it out by 45 inches approximately, because the extra allowance is going to be to hem it, just like I've done here. So the middle part, I joined it together, so everything now is just like a circle together, like you can see. I'm going to take that part that has the joining, and I'm going to be pinning it to the back of the dress. That is where I'm going to start gathers from. I don't want the part that has the joining to show at the front. So the opposite side, I'm also going to leave a notch, just like you can see. I'm going to pin it to the center front of the dress. Guys, I find it easier. I'm going to pin this at distinctive edges and sew it all around, so one side doesn't gather more than the other. So to do that, all I have to do is just to pinch. And when I pinch, I just hold it in and then I sew on top of it. I find it easier than drawing a gather stitch because the rope can cut at any time, and that will leave you very frustrated. So just go ahead and pinch your material like this. After pinning them at different notch areas, so you do not end up gathering one side more than the other, you just have to pinch little by little, and while you pinch, you hold down and sew. So I'll just be repeating this pattern of the gathers all around through the clothing. So guys, after I was done gathering the other part of the material to my upper part, this is what it looks like from the back. Okay, and then this is what it looks like from the front. I do hope you found this tutorial very helpful. If you did, please do leave a like and also subscribe to this channel so you can get notified whenever I upload more tutorials like this one. And also do all to tell me if you'll be trying this out in the comment section and what you think about this dress, and I'll be seeing you in my next tutorial. Bye guys.